Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson, and welcome to another episode. Today we're going to talk about how to become a powerful person. Now, that might sound a little strange or a little different to the typical videos I do, but it's important to kind of cover this topic because I've been learning a lot recently about collecting my own personal power, and I feel like it's time to share some of this knowledge with you because you need to be empowered to be able to be that strong person out in the world that can change the world. And I want to give you the tools. So these tools I've been working on and refining over the past 10 years, and I want to start sharing them. So here we go. So what is power? Let's just touch on that. Power can come out in many different ways. It can manifest as like a way of being in a power structure where someone has dominance over another, or being in a system where you can basically have control over a situation. Now, I'm not talking about that power. I think that power is extrinsically or externally related. Like, if you are a manager, you have power over people below you. If you are physically stronger, you have power over someone who's physically weaker. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is personal power. Personal power is your ability to hold your space within you and then also share that and project that into physical reality. That's the most powerful version of power, because that can't just be copied by someone who just like changes a physical structure or like exercises more to be stronger than you. Personal power can defeat opponents who are physically stronger than you, and it can also convince people who are in higher power structures, like in hierarchical structures, that you're right, or that you should be the person in power, which is even better, right? So like, let's talk about personal power. Personal power is like going to give you this ability to be able to hold your own in a conversation. It's going to give you the ability to also get your point across and also give you this sense of presence. When you walk into the room, people are going to notice you. And it's also going to give you the ability to manifest and create your reality that you want to see in the world. Like, who doesn't, like, would you, if I said I could give you something that you could go out into the world and then enact that would change your life and give you the ability to make whatever you want happen, wouldn't you want that? That's what I'm talking about today, and I can make a million episodes on this. So let me know if you want more about this, and I can give you practices, and I can give you all sorts of techniques. But we're going to touch on this today. Personal power. Now, there's an aspect of personal power that's related to knowing yourself, and by knowing yourself, what I mean is being able to have an internal gauge of what your sense of deep knowing is saying. When you know yourself, you're able to listen to the signals of what's right or wrong. And for me, when I transitioned, what became right or wrong became a lot more clear because I had embraced the part of me that knew. Have you transitioned, or are you pre-transition, or are you unsure? Where are you in that transition? Or are you not transitioning because you know you're cis? Like, where are you in terms of knowing yourself? Because the more that you know yourself, the less energy you have to spend trying to figure out who you are and also trying to figure out if your signals are right or wrong. Once I kind of like got rid of the haziness of knowing who I was, am I a woman, am I a man? Suddenly the signals become a lot louder. And that's a really important part, because when you know yourself, it means you can navigate situations moment by moment and do it in a truthful and authentic manner, which is super important, because when you do things that are truthful and authentic, it aligns your reality in a way that reflects the reality that you already are. So If you know yourself well, you create a reality that knows you well and that aligns with who you are. If you do things inauthentically and you don't know how to be the true version of yourself, you're going to continue to perpetuate and create a reality that doesn't really know you, treats you as kind of like a kind of like an after the fact manifestation of reality. Like you're not given, you're kind of susceptible to what reality does to you, and you become more of a victim, if you want to put it that way, to your reality. Reality happens to you versus you happening to reality. Do you get what I mean? Reality, like when you view the world as reality happening to you, then you are the victim. Then you are like A happens and then you are B, the result. But you can flip the script and you can be the result that happens. I love that. Someone write that in quotes and put that in the comments below, please. Because I'm going to forget it. So yeah, you are the result that happens. So instead of allowing, let's go with this a little bit. Instead of allowing something to happen to you, find what you want to be that, and then create in your reality what needs to happen in order to be that, such as get rich, such as become like the great artist that you are, such as get that job that you know you should get, such as speak that thing you know needs to be spoken. Become the result, and then do that, and do it like where you follow through. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been told that you need to follow through with the thing that you're doing, whether that's physical or not? Like I imagine a sword, and if I'm slicing, I don't slice by just like extending my arm and throwing it out. I follow the slice. Like if I'm cutting and I'm in combat, I'm gonna cut in a way where I'm following through. I'm going to visualize cutting through the person, and I'm going to see the end, rather than saying, oh, like I'm going to hit them and then there's going to be like friction. That's not going to be as good of a slice. And I think that's the same with when people talk about shooting guns. Like you don't pull the trigger, you squeeze the trigger. You focus on the squeezing action versus like kind of like pull. This concept needs to be applied to how we think when we enact our power. You don't think, oh, like I just need to calibrate just enough power to kind of just do this thing, to express this thing, to be this thing, to create this thing. You do it with full force and with a full swing. That's how you create your reality in a powerful way. Here's another thing that's a separate topic, which is collecting your personal power. So your power is a function of your consciousness in your awareness and ability to pull in what you already have. That sounds weird, but let me put it a really simple way. So, do you have trauma in your experience of your life? Do you have things, even if you don't have trauma, do you have things where you still think about them in the past, or someone said something, or you keep dwelling on an issue, or something like being trans, or like not having enough money, or like some of these things where you keep going back to it and it becomes like a source of like a weight, or something that doesn't feel good and is kind of like ball and chain stuck to you, and you pull it around and it's your baggage, right? We call that baggage. This is your personal power being externalized and then put onto something. So that ball and chain, if we continue this analogy, you've created the ball and the chain, because your reality right now is there is no reality except the now. There is no reality except the now. Can you accept that? Can you accept the idea that what has happened in the past is not real? Because it's not actually here in your present moment. The only thing right now, if you're watching this, is me and you, which is great. Like, let's be present right now, right? Right now. Right now. And so all of your trauma and all of the things that are kind of like weights on your shoulders, weights on your, like the ball and chain, that is you believing that it has power over you. That is you believing that it exists in your reality right now. Does it actually exist in your reality right now? Like, do a quick check. Like, what is actually real right now? Is it the stuff in your head, or is it reality? Is it like reality, like this table that I'm touching that you can't see? I don't know if you have a table too, but you can touch something. That is real. But these concepts are not real. They're just real in your mind. And I was looking at this the other day because I was telling my sister, she's a neuroscientist. It's your, let me see if I can pull it up. It's the part of your brain that, do I have this here? Okay, so I'm gonna like look through this and as I speak because I don't want to, just me just looking through this. But there's a part of your brain that doesn't actually distinguish between reality and what is imagined reality. And this is the important thing to acknowledge, is there's actually a part of our brain that doesn't know what's real. And that if you use your imagination to reteach it, then it can like actually relearn here it is, relearn what it is. It's called your reticular activating system. And it's basically what your confirmation bias is. It's a filter. And it protects your brain by letting in stuff that it agrees with. So if I'm talking about things that you agree with, it lets that stuff in. But if I talk about stuff that you don't agree with, it doesn't let that stuff in, which is important. And your belief system kind of like influences your filter. And this is kind of like the problem that we have with our reality, is that we can basically start to create realities that are disempowering. The ball and chain narrative. For me, my parents went through a divorce when I was 5, and that was pretty traumatic. And if I keep dwelling on the fact that my family's not together and then that I'm worse off now, I've created a reality for myself that my brain doesn't know the difference of, like what actually happened versus what happened in my head. Then I've lost some of my energy because that is kind of in my reality now and I'm not using it. I'm using it to, it's become a passive asset that's a negative asset. And if I'm like looking at this from an investment perspective, I don't want a negative asset in my life that's weighing me down and that's basically being unused and turned into something that's making my life worse. So what you need to do is you need to pull these assets back. You need to pull your energy back, your power that you've given up to other things that are in your reality now that are not real, and re-articulate to your reticular activating system that this isn't real anymore and that it should focus and put its energy on things that are real. So I have a really simple meditation for you, and this is the way that I did it, is I went back to these memories and I said, you know what? I'm erasing my commitment to these memories. I'm not erasing the memory, but I'm erasing my commitment to these memories. And I imagine an eraser just kind of like undoing any connection that I have with it. And then imagining just pulling my energy back. Just saying, I take my energy back from these things. I don't commit to them anymore. This is my energy. I'm pulling it back into this present moment. And it's helpful if you breathe when you do it, because when you're breathing in, it's another way of breathing in energy, like literally. The important part is not to breathe out the energy. You may breathe out the air, but try to just hold on to that energy when you bring it in. And the last tweak that I'll give you here, which is something that I've struggled with, is letting go of your commitment to that energy that you have committed to. Because if you've invested yourself in something, your ego now becomes a part of it. You probably identify with that memory or that ball and chain thing that's holding you back, right? If I ask you, where do you come from? What's your story? It's somewhere in there. You may not tell me that because it's very personal, but it's somewhere in there in how you identify yourself. So this is where you have to also be willing to let go of how you identify with your trauma or these experiences that are pulling your power away from it. Does that make sense? So pulling your power away can be actively going out to these memories and actually taking your power back and saying, no, this is mine and I'm going to collect it here. Now, where do you put it? You don't put it in another memory. You just collect it and you hold on to it. And you see what happens. You see how you respond to having this power. Because I think the first response that I've had is, oh my God, like I have more power. Like, what do? I need to spend it on something. Don't just spend it on anything. Spend it on things that are positive for you, that are going to create a better reality for yourself. You know, exercising more, getting that like habit of journaling, or doing something like eating healthier. Like all of these things are things that I'm working on that have made me a better person, where I can reinvest my energy. I could go on for days on this topic, but I think I'll kind of leave with one last thing, which is super important. When you're pulling back your energy, realize that it doesn't need to be hard. Realize that it doesn't need to be difficult to let go. Realize that it doesn't need to be hard to pull your energy back. Realize that it doesn't need to be like, oh, it's just my imagination, or the opposite of, oh, like I don't believe this is possible. Just say, you know, maybe it is possible. Maybe I am just working with my reticular activating system in some way that it understands better than I understand. Visualization, it doesn't, like the reticular activating system doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So use your imagination to go back there and change the information and communicate to the reticular activating system that it doesn't have to do things the way that it used to do them. So, yeah, I hope that's helpful. Let me know if you do the meditation, how your power changes after doing this, and I'll see you in another episode. Bye!